All right, welcome to Word Before Work summer series. Today we're talking about John chapter 2, finally moving on from John chapter 1. John chapter 2 has three main events. It has the miracle at the wedding feast, the cleansing of the temple, and then miracles in Jerusalem. Today we're just tackling one of those events, which is the miracle at the wedding feast. So this is John chapter 2, verses 1 through 11. But really, we have to start with the theme verse for the book of John, which is John 20:31. These things are written that ye might believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and that by believing you might have life through his name. So we know that the book of John was written so that we can understand who Jesus was and understand how to have life through his name. John chapter 1, verses 1 through 14, the author gives us a very clear picture of who Jesus was and then provides evidence throughout the rest of the book to prove that that was true. The first piece of evidence that the author John gives us is found in John chapter 1, and that is the account of John the Baptist and his interactions with Jesus in his baptism. There's a little bit more that's given there that you can read in that chapter. The second piece of evidence that John the author gives us is a miracle, and there's going to be a lot of miracles to help show who Jesus is. But the first one that John the author gives is the miracle at the wedding feast found here in John chapter 2. Now, the main thing about this miracle happens in verse 11. So John chapter 2 in verse 11 says, "This beginning of miracles did Jesus in Cana of Galilee, and manifested forth his glory, and his disciples believed on him." So the result of this miracle, the purpose for this miracle, was for Jesus to show his power and his glory to his disciples so that they would believe on him. Really, he's preparing the team to be able to go out and minister to the people at large. So in John chapter 1, Jesus had just called those disciples. You can read the story of where some of them came from. Some of them were followers of John the Baptist. Some of them weren't. But think about what this did for them. They'd heard about Jesus, especially the followers of John the Baptist. John the Baptist had talked about Jesus, and now John the Baptist is sending them to go follow Jesus, and they probably are waiting for themselves, to see for themselves that Jesus is who he says that he is and who he claims to be. And when Mary, in this account, when Mary came to Jesus and said, "Hey, they're out of wine. Can you do something about it?" His response was, "It's not time for me to manifest my glory, at large." But then he went ahead and did the miracle anyway, which basically just goes to prove the point, or help give evidence to the fact that this was a private miracle. So this was not designed to show the people at large who Jesus was. This was specifically designed to show the disciples who Jesus was, and to help provide evidence for them that he is specifically the Messiah. And that is a result of this miracle. So a couple applications for us. Has there been a time in your life when God has made himself so apparent to you that it helped increase your faith? That's exactly what's happening here. Jesus is making himself obvious, his divine glory and power obvious to his disciples, and it's causing them to increase their faith, their belief in who he is. Praise God for those moments in our lives. A second thing to think about here is that John and Andrew specifically were following Jesus at the recommendation of John the Baptist. Stop and think for a minute about all of the people who have been influential in your life that you could essentially say that you are following Jesus at their recommendation because they showed what a life looked like that was consecrated to Christ, because they encouraged you and urged you and prodded you to go and follow Jesus. You are following Jesus today. And then the challenge in that is to ask yourself, hey, is there anybody in my life that I know that's following Jesus because I recommended him to them, or I encouraged them to do so? And if there's not, hey, go find that person, pray for that person, and share Christ with them. So that's John chapter 2, part 1, miracle at the wedding feast. We'll see you next time. God bless.